Imagine this, a sunny Wednesday afternoon, with a gentle breeze swirling through faded, yet vibrant, garden ornaments. This is your journey to transforming simple, used materials into a rustic patio garden oasis. Join us as we weave a tale of ingenuity and beauty, all within the cozy confines of your home. Hi there! You've landed on Freshomz, your go-to spot for creative home and garden inspiration. Hit subscribe and like this video to help us grow and bring you even more amazing ideas. Imagine stepping into a secret garden tucked within just 10 square feet of your urban balcony or backyard corner. At Freshomz, we've seen how even the tiniest space can bloom into a soul-soothing retreat. Picture weathered wooden planks forming a mini deck, a single upcycled chair draped with a crocheted throw, and cascading ivy spilling from a repurposed watering can. It's not about size, it's about intention. We once transformed a forgotten fire escape into a morning coffee haven, using a salvaged door as a table and mason jars for herbs. The key? Layer textures, rough wood, soft greenery, and flickering candlelight in recycled glass. This isn't just decoration, it's a daily invitation to pause, breathe, and reconnect. You don't need a sprawling yard, just a vision, a few rescued items, and the courage to begin. A heartfelt wish for lasting health and long life to all who have supported us by subscribing and liking. There's magic in a wooden pallet, once destined for a landfill, now reborn as a vertical garden breathing life into tight spaces. At Freshomz, we love how a single pallet can become a living wall. Its slats cradling succulents, trailing petunias, or aromatic thyme. Lean it against a blank wall, line the gaps with landscape fabric, and fill with soil. In weeks, it's a tapestry of green. We once saw a city dweller in Seattle turn a stained, broken pallet into a fragrant herb tower beside her kitchen window. Basil, mint, and oregano thriving in recycled coffee tins tucked between the wood. The beauty? It ages gracefully. Sun-bleached, rain-worn, moss creeping into the cracks. It tells a story of growth and resilience. Whether you paint it barn red or leave it raw, a pallet garden isn't just practical. It's poetry in motion. There's something deeply comforting about sitting on a chair made from something once forgotten. Old wooden crates, meant for apples, wine, or hardware, carry history in their grain. At Freshomz, we've watched them become the heart of small patios, turned into cozy benches with a cushion and a story. Stack two sideways, reinforce with a plank, add a soft outdoor pillow, and suddenly you've got a reading nook where morning light dances through leafy shadows. One homeowner in Vermont used 4 vintage crates, 2 as a seat, 2 as side tables, to create a fireside perch for chilly evenings. They sanded just enough to keep the wear, the dents, the faded labels. That's the charm. It's not polished. It's real. And when you sit there, sipping tea with the breeze in your hair, you're not just relaxing. You're part of a quiet rebellion against waste, one crate at a time. Tires don't belong in landfills. They belong in gardens, blooming with color and life. At Freshomz, we've fallen in love with how a discarded tire can become a whimsical planter, its round shape echoing nature's curves. Paint one an earthy terracotta or moss green, stack 2 for height, or cut and fold the rim into petal-like layers for a floral throne. We once saw a grandmother in Texas turn her old truck tire into a sunflower fortress, bright yellows towering over lavender and marigolds, all thriving in recycled rubber. Drill drainage holes, line with landscape fabric, and fill with soil. In weeks, it's a jungle. Stack them like a totem, wrap with rope for texture, or hang them with chains for a retro vibe. The best part? They're durable, weather-resistant, and full of character. A tire planter isn't just clever, it's a statement. Beauty rises where others see waste. A backyard doesn't need to be large to feel like a sanctuary. At Freshomz, we've seen 10 by 10 foot spaces transformed into dreamy escapes using only what was already on hand. Think, an old shutter as a trellis for climbing roses, broken tiles forming a mosaic stepping stone path, and a chipped enamel tub turned into a water feature with a solar fountain. One couple in Portland used salvaged windows to build a greenhouse nook for their ferns and orchids. Another turned a rusted wheelbarrow into a flower-filled centerpiece. The secret? Work with what you have. Let imperfections shine. A chip paint job becomes charm. A wobbly table becomes a stand for tea and birdsong. This isn't about perfection, it's about presence. When you walk into your little oasis, the clutter of the world fades. All that's left is the rustle of leaves, the hum of bees, and the peace of knowing you built this beauty with your own hands, and a few forgotten things. There's poetry in a tin can reborn, once holding beans or soup, now cradling a sprig of rosemary or a blooming pansy. At Freshomz, we adore how vintage tin cans, especially the old-fashioned kind with colorful labels, add whimsy and warmth to rustic patios. Punch a few holes in the bottom, paint them in muted blues, creams, or rust reds, and cluster them on a reclaimed wood shelf. Hang them with twine from a fence or ladder, and watch them sway in the breeze. We once saw a gardener in Maine use old coffee tins to grow dwarf lemon balm. Her patio humming with bees by midsummer. The beauty? They're lightweight, endlessly customizable, and biodegradable over time. Group them by height for visual rhythm, or let ivy spill over the edges like green waterfalls. A tin can planter isn't just clever, it's a tiny act of rebellion against waste, one bloom at a time. Every home has a forgotten corner, a sliver beside the garage, a patch under the stairs, a blank wall begging for life. At Freshomz, we believe these spaces deserve love too, and repurposed wood is the perfect storyteller. Imagine weathered fence boards turned into a raised bed for strawberries, a broken headboard framing a climbing clematis, or floorboards laid diagonally to form a mini deck under a string of lanterns. One artist in Oregon used salvaged barn wood to build a low bench tucked between two hydrangeas, now her favorite spot for sketching. The wood's cracks, nail holes, and faded paint aren't flaws. They're proof of a past life, now contributing to something new. Add a burlap cushion, a lantern, and a trailing vine, and suddenly it's a retreat. A cozy corner garden isn't about grand gestures. It's about small, soulful moments made possible by wood that refused to be forgotten. True charm isn't bought, it's discovered. At Freshomz, we find magic in salvaged items. A dented watering can holding lavender, a chipped enamel bowl brimming with rainwater and floating candles, a forgotten shutter leaning as a backdrop for fairy lights. These pieces carry soul. One homeowner in Asheville turned an old barn door into a vertical herb garden, drilling pockets for thyme and oregano. Another used vintage suitcases stacked as side tables, opening to reveal hidden succulents. The beauty of salvaged decor? It's unpredictable. A rusted hinge becomes wall art. A broken chair gets a second life as a plant stand. There's no rule book, just instinct, texture, and memory. When you walk into a space filled with rescued treasures, it feels alive. Not because it's perfect, but because it's honest. Each piece whispers, I was almost lost. Now I belong. And in that belonging, your patio becomes more than a place. It becomes a story. There's a kind of magic that only appears at dusk, a soft glow that turns a simple patio into a dream. At Freshomz, we've seen mason jars become vessels of that magic. Fill them with solar fairy lights, hang them from tree branches, or line them along a railing like stars come down to earth. One couple in Colorado strung jars from an old wagon wheel, creating a celestial canopy over their dinner table. Another buried jars halfway in the ground, their lids removed, to form glowing flower beds at night. Wrap twine around the neck, paint them in frosted white, or leave them clear to show off flickering LEDs. Add dried lavender, pine cones, or seashells for texture. The light is gentle, warm, inviting. It doesn't shout, it whispers. And when you sit beneath it, with a book or a loved one, the world slows. A fairy-lit patio isn't just pretty, it's a promise. Even in darkness, there's beauty waiting to be kindled. Herbs deserve more than plastic pots. They deserve character, history, and soul. At Freshomz, we love seeing discarded crates, once carrying oranges, wine, or tools, reborn as thriving herb gardens. Sand them lightly, leave the dents, the faded stencils. Drill drainage holes, line with fabric and fill with rich soil. Rosemary, thyme, basil, and parsley spill over the edges like green waterfalls. One chef in Santa Fe turned 3 old crates into a tiered kitchen garden on his back step. Fresh oregano within arm's reach while cooking. Stack them sideways for depth, or mount them on a wall for a vertical kitchen. The wood ages beautifully, sun-bleached in summer, dusted with frost in winter. And when you brush your fingers over the leaves, harvesting for dinner, you're not just cooking. You're connecting to the earth, to memory, to the quiet joy of growing something beautiful from something forgotten. A path shouldn't be paved with perfection. At Freshomz, we believe the most enchanting garden trails are made from what's on hand. Broken terracotta pots, mismatched tiles, salvaged bricks, or flat stones nestled in moss. One gardener in Michigan used cracked dishes to create a mosaic walkway, each step a burst of color underfoot. Another laid old floorboards diagonally between lavender bushes, forming a weathered wooden trail that softened with rain and time. The beauty? These paths don't shout wealth. They whisper creativity. Use wine corks sealed in resin for a soft, bouncy trail, or arrange vintage keys in the soil as whimsical markers. Let grass grow between the gaps. Let roots curl around the edges. A rustic garden path isn't about straight lines. It's about wandering, wondering, and leaving footprints on something handmade. And every time you walk it, you're reminded, the best journeys begin with a single, imperfect step. Walls don't have to be blank. At Freshomz, we've seen them become living tapestries, covered in herbs, succulents, and trailing vines, all held in weathered wood frames. Imagine an old fence panel, its paint peeling, mounted vertically and lined with fabric pockets filled with soil. Pop in succulents, strawberries, or creeping jenny, and watch green life climb. One artist in New Mexico used salvaged barn wood to build a hexagonal wall garden, each cell holding a different herb, like a honeycomb of flavor. Another mounted old drawers sideways, leaving the handles as hooks for tiny watering cans. The wood ages with grace, sun-bleached, rain-stained, moss creeping into the cracks. It doesn't fight time. It embraces it. And when you touch the rough grain, pluck a leaf of mint, or see bees dance through the blooms, you realize, this wall isn't just decoration. It's alive. And so are you. An old ladder doesn't belong in a junk pile. It belongs in a garden, holding life. At Freshomz, we've seen wooden ladders, once wobbly and forgotten, reborn as stunning plant shelves. Lean it against a wall, secure it, and use each rung as a tiered stand for pots. Terracotta, tin cans, mason jars. Each level tells a story. One gardener in Georgia painted her ladder barn red, filled it with trailing ivy and blooming fuchsias, and called it her flower staircase. Another used a metal stepladder for herbs, placing basil on top, thyme in the middle, oregano at the base, right outside her kitchen door. The ladder's slope creates natural drainage and visual rhythm. Wrap the sides with fairy lights for evening glow. Let vines climb the rails. The beauty? It's functional, nostalgic, and full of charm. An upcycled ladder isn't just storage. It's a monument to second chances, and a perfect home for growing things. Every garden should have a secret, a tucked-away spot where the world fades and peace takes over. At Freshomz, we love seeing recycled furniture create these hidden nooks. An old armchair, its fabric faded, now cradles a fern in a repurposed planter. A broken dresser, drawers removed, becomes a shelf for teacups and trailing pothose. One woman in Oregon turned a vintage love seat into a garden throne, surrounding it with lavender and roses. Its wood softened by years of sun and rain. Another used an old wardrobe frame as a trellis for climbing jasmine. Its doors long gone, but its spirit alive and blooms. Add a lantern, a quilt, and a stack of books, and suddenly it's a retreat. Not grand, not expensive, just deeply personal. A hidden garden nook isn't about square footage. It's about heart. And when you sit there, breathing in the scent of earth and blossoms, you're not just resting. You're remembering how to be still. Eco-Chic isn't a trend, it's a mindset. At Freshomz, we celebrate patio designs that blend style with sustainability, using found objects to create spaces that feel both intentional and alive. Think, a chandelier made from vintage bottles hanging over a dining set built from pallets, or a coffee table crafted from a tree stump and car tire. One designer in Austin used sea glass and mortar to create a shimmering mosaic tabletop. Another lined her patio edge with vintage colanders, planted with succulents, their holes perfect for drainage. The key? See potential, not waste. A rusted gate becomes a vine support. A broken mirror, framed in driftwood, reflects sunlight into shady corners. These pieces carry history, texture, soul. And when you gather friends beneath a canopy of mason jar lights, Seated on upcycled benches, you're not just hosting. You're honoring the earth, one beautiful, rescued piece at a time. As the last bits of paint dry and the upcycled treasures find their place, your garden waits to bloom. It's now your turn to bring life to this space. Remember, the magic continues when you explore our other DIY projects and ideas. So hit that subscribe button and join us for more home and garden design adventures.